So you mean the employee committee that we use for policy questions on the personnel policy?
Yeah, not exactly.
I think it's the committee that we donate $5 of our council checks to, and every employee donates for the parties. And
That's what I thought.
Yeah, since we didn't do anything this year, that's why we got the nice card.
Yeah, we did get a nice card. So thank you to everybody.
I didn't get a card.
Way to go, Ryan. You let it out of the bag.
Well, is he donating $5 to the employee committee?
Hey, buddy. I've donated a lot more than $5 to the city. So tell him to go to the city website. Oh, we're recording.
Well, is he donating $5 to the employee committee?
So it's,
Hey, buddy. I've donated a lot more than
Okay.
$5 to the city.
What's that?
sorry, that was my YouTube running through the speakers twice.
Okay, so I tell him to go to the city website and what?
And then on the homepage, there's at the left, there it says agendas and minutes. If he clicks on that, and then clicks on the city council meeting agenda for today, there'll be a link there that he can, right at the top, that he can click on to join.
He might want to comment, so. Are we hearing from Councilman Severing yet?
He's not showing up as a panelist or attendee yet.
Well, I guess we'll have to start without him then, I guess, huh? All right. Well, welcome to the City Council meeting tonight, January 26th of 2021. We welcome our council members along with those citizens who have joined us this evening. We'll go ahead and get started. Councilman Severing has not yet joined us, so I think we'll ask our city attorney and staff member, John Call, to lead us this evening in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. John, if you do that as our city manager, I'd appreciate it since Councilman Severing has not joined.
Okay. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful today for this day and for the chance we have to gather and discuss the community in which we live and the opportunities that we have to look forward and to plan for good things to happen. We're grateful for this community and those people who serve both inside and outside of the community to keep us safe, who have our best interests at heart. And we're grateful for this state and this country in which we live. Please guide us tonight to talk about those things that will be of most use to our residents and be guided to make the right decisions. We thank thee and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, John, if you could just put the flag up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. All right, let's move on to our agenda this evening. Before we start our meeting, by law, I need to read the following statement. Pursuant to Utah Code Section 59-2-407, the mayor of North Ogden City hereby determines that conducting an electronic meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location. This determination is based on the November 8th, 2020 declaration by the governor of the state of Utah regarding the increase in COVID-19 cases and the need for caution in people meeting together. The January 26, 2021 meeting of North Ogden City will be held electronically, and we will not have a physical location. All attendees will connect remotely, and links for the public participation are available on the North Ogden City website. So with that completed, I would ask council members if they have any perceived conflict of interest that they would like to disclose this evening regarding anything on our agenda. Do we have any conflicts anyone would like to disclose? Okay, having none, we'll move on to items 3 and 4 on our consent agenda, which is the discussion and or actions to consider December 22nd, 2020 City Council meetings, along with the January 5th, 2021 City Council meeting. And we'll combine those into one motion. Is there any amendments or anything to the minutes that need to be discussed? Okay, seeing none, I would look for a motion then to approve the December 22nd, 2020 and January 5th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, so moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Swanson. We have a
Second.
Second by Council Member Stoker. Any discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, thank you. We'll move on now to item 5, starting our active agenda this evening. And we'll seek any public comments. So John, if you would watch for any public comments, I'd appreciate it. And just a reminder for those who would like to comment this evening, please state your name and your address, and please limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. So John, will you let us know if you see anyone from the public who would like to participate in our meeting this evening?
We do have a comment from Randy Wynn.
All right, let's go to Randy.
So he just needs to unmute himself. There we go.
Am I good now?
Yes.
Randy Wynn, 2412 Barker Parkway in North Ogden. I recognize, I wanted to speak to item 6 on the agenda tonight. I recognize that not everyone that gets a tattoo is an undesirable person, but I feel like putting tattoo parlors in our town would be an undue temptation to young people, and also to draw perhaps undesirable people from other communities to come here. And I recommend a vote against that. And that's my comment for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. John, do you see anyone else who would like to comment this evening?
Not at this time.
Okay, let's just give a few minutes in case there are.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Barker.
we got, I see Dennis Carlton is logged in. He sent us an email that he'd like to make a public comment. I don't know if he still would, or if he sent us an email about 10 minutes before council meeting.
Okay, Dennis. I don't know, he's on with us now, you say?
Yep.
It looks like he's muted. He's been promoted, but he's on mute.
Okay,
All right, there you go, Dennis. If you just state your full name and address, we'd appreciate it.
Dennis Carlton, 2421 North 400 East, North Ogden, Utah, B1. Audio's on.
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to add also with the other gentleman that I concur with his ideas about that type of business at North Ogden. Also, just that there might be a risk. It's a little decision the city would make for revenue, I understand, but I just want to add that I agree with the other person.
Okay, is there anything else, Dennis, for this evening?
On the regular agenda,
Yes, anything you'd like to comment on this evening?
separate than the regular agenda.
Yeah, you're welcome to make a comment if you'd like.
Okay, I think previously I wanted to request some assistance for justice as a victim from another state, to have the city law enforcement assist for me on an information type of work, additional work for me, a victim.
Is this identity theft you're referring to?
Federal wire fraud, financial elder abuse, federal money. So it's been a major impact, and there's been work done but not finished. So if I had the time, resources, and energy, I would do some of it, but I can always assist. But the end result is always justice. So it's a project, and just requesting for the city, for Detective Newton, the detective, I forgot his name, to continue on.
We can surely mention that to the chief and see if we can't get you an update, Dennis. I know that I think the normal procedure, as I understand it, is you file a police report with the local jurisdiction. And then there's the Department of Justice, I think, that is trying to handle most of those cases. But we will make mention to the chief about your comment and have some follow-up. How's that?
Sure, it's gotten past the county level, so it's over the city and county level also, but just requesting it.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Okay, John, is there anyone else?
Not at this time. Oh, we do now have a comment from JD Dalpas.
All right, JD.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. JD Dalpas, 734 East, 2700 North, North Ogden, Utah. I think on the tattoo parlor, I think we need to be really careful about not rushing to judgment on that type of business. It's one of those things where, you know, I personally wouldn't be excited about the idea, but at the same time, I know there are a lot of good people that are interested in getting tattoos and having that done. And in all honesty, it will bring a business to North Ogden. So I think we need to be careful about that and consider that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, JD. Thanks for joining us. Other comments, John?
Not at this time.
Okay, well, those comments will lead us right into item number 6 on our agenda. Brandon Bell, our associate planner, will be making a presentation this evening for us to consider, discuss, or take an action on an ordinance that would amend the North Ogden City Code to allow tattoo studios in our commercial zone. So if Brandon is with us, why don't we proceed, Brandon, with your presentation?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. You bet. Good evening to you and to the City Council. This is a legislative matter where the City Code is being proposed to be amended. So I'll go ahead and read the legislative decision type statement for that. When the city is considering a legislative matter, the Planning Commission is acting as a recommending body to the City Council. The city has wide discretion in taking legislative action, and examples of legislative actions are general plan, zoning map, and land use text amendments, of which this is a land use text amendment, or would be if it's passed. Legislative actions require that the Planning Commission give a recommendation to the City Council. Typically, the criteria for making a decision related to a legislative matter require compatibility with the general plan and existing codes. The city received recently an application for a business license, actually, and in reviewing that business license, one of the proposed uses, I would say a primary use that was proposed was a tattoo studio. And as staff reviewed that, we did not feel that it could be properly classified under the existing uses. That's not a comment on the appropriateness of the use or not, but just simply that it wasn't currently allowed. And in our code under staff's interpretation. And for this reason, we informed the applicant that we recommended that if they wanted to pursue a tattoo studio as a permitted use, that they'd need to submit an application for a zoning text amendment, which they did, and that brings us here tonight. As we surveyed planners throughout the state regarding these types of businesses, one planner did state that these types of businesses are similar in nature with regards to their impact on the community to a beauty salon. What I mean by impacts is the amount of traffic that they generate and the external impact on the community of things that happen outside of the business. This planner also stated that that the cities that he'd worked in hadn't had any issues arise from these businesses, that they are quiet, low-key, and that they do not generate an excessive amount of traffic. Another planner that was queried was stated that in his role serving as a member of a planning commission, that they had included requirements regarding building colors, signs being limited, and requiring an outside area to linger. In our case, we have a sign code that applies basically to businesses independent of what the business is, and so that issue we believe is already addressed. And there are also standards regarding colors for buildings in our code as well that apply to all businesses at least in the commercial zones. With regards to historical context, tattoo studios are generally at present more broadly accepted than they have been in the past. Legally, the city can choose to allow them as a permitted use, not permit them as a use, or allow them as a use with some additional requirements. These would be such as standards for hours of operation, distances from other tattoo studios, or even distances from other businesses, say check cashing establishments or sexually oriented businesses, things like that. Or any other business, I suppose, that determined to be reasonable. In the Planning Commission's review of this item, they expressed no concerns that were specific to this use, which are not already addressed by other governmental entities. So the health department does have to issue some sort of permit or license. They have a regulations that they follow, and that they have to issue some sort of license, which we then would just require a copy of that of some sort. But that's the only issue that came up with the Planning Commission, and it was noted that that was addressed by the County Health Department. With regards to how this conforms with the general plan, this proposed use, there were 3 goals that we pulled out from the general plan that seemed that they potentially could be relevant to this decision of whether or not to allow tattoo art studios as a permitted use. The first was increase revenue at a rate that matches or exceeds population growth. The second was diversify the entertainment, restaurant, and retail offerings within the city. That would probably be the most relevant. And the third would be assure a quality commercial shopping environment. There are some specific strategies under each of those the goals in the staff report. I don't think I'm going to go into those. I think they're pretty simple, but they just deal with reducing regulation or improving appearance, and reducing regulatory burden. The potential policy options that the council can consider in this would be to allow it as this as a permitted use. And before I go on further, as part of tattoo studios, what's currently being proposed, since these typically are in the same establishment, and this is noted in the ordinance, is body piercings would be part of it, which and then also laser removal. So for those people that are seeking to have a tattoo removed, then they would be able to go to the same establishment for that, and as well as body piercings and tattoos. So the 3 options would be allow as a permitted use, not allow as a permitted use, or allow this as a permitted use with its own distinct requirements. Some potential requirements under that third option would be to require a distance from other tattoo art studios, and another would be a required distance from other uses. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, some cities have required as, like, say, I'm looking at an example here of 880 feet from a payday lending establishment, a pawn and secondhand businesses, or a sexually oriented business. And then the third would be a specified range of hours of operation. So issues to consider as you deliberate on this decision would be to consider asking amongst yourselves, should the standards for commercial zones to allow tattoo studios apply? Let's see. Do the standards for the commercial zones allow tattoo studios as a permitted use? Should there be additional standards? And is the amendment consistent with the general plan? The Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend this ordinance be adopted with a minor change. That the Planning Commission was the body that recommended that body piercing be added to the ordinance, since they tend to go together. They're part and parcel essentially as business for most tattoo businesses. That adjustment has been made to the ordinance, and then staff and Planning Commission recommendation is that the City Council should discuss the potential amendment and make a determination regarding whether to adopt the ordinance adding tattoo art studios as a permitted use or not, which again would include the body piercing and laser removal as currently proposed. One of the questions wasn't quite clear. I think I mistyped it a bit, but the first question is essentially, should the standards for the commercial zones be amended to allow tattoo studios as a permitted use? There were some adjustments to the proposed ordinance that were made just regarding formatting and presentation of how to accomplish adding the tattoo studios as a permitted use. They weren't, except for the adding body piercings, there wasn't anything that was substantive. It was just we reformatted it to make it more clear about how we wanted to add this language to the ordinance and add this as a permitted use if it were adopted. So I think that covers most of the issues that I have, and I am ready to take any questions that you might have for me.
Thank you, Brandon. Before I seek input from the council, I just have one question. Does our current ordinance prohibit tattoo parlors?
That's a tough question, even though it seems simple. It doesn't specifically say you cannot do them, but it prohibits them in the sense that it doesn't list them as a permitted use. It doesn't say, you shall not have tattoo parlors. It just doesn't fall under the listed uses that are specifically permitted. And
Well,
so
I guess that could turn into quite a list of what's prohibited. Wouldn't it be simpler to identify what's prohibited instead of what's permitted?
that's a
things
yeah.
change quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean that's a really big question. John, did you?
So some cities have tried to take that approach, and what they find is the way the courts read that language. There are some uses, if you don't specifically say it's not allowed, that it's problematic. And so generally everyone recommends you do this permitted use approach. And so many of them fall into the general categories of retail and other things that they're all permitted uses, even though one's selling dog toys and someone else is selling hair products. It's just on this one, because tattoos are such a distinctive use in the planning realm, we thought it was better to include it as a permitted use as opposed to trying to fold it into one of these other generalized categories.
Okay, thank you. I know the applicant is with us this evening, but perhaps before we have them or her join us, is there any discussion from the council regarding this amendment to the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Swanson.
I know that the amendment that we're considering has application beyond just this particular individual's application, in that it would become a permitted or a permitted with stipulations use. In this particular instance, though, I believe the primary use of the business is going to be for permanent makeup and microblading and looks like massage services, those kinds of things that are pretty standard. I'll let Councilwoman Ekstrom or Councilwoman Stoker speak to better the prevalence, but I know that microblading is quite a prevalent thing in today's society with people of all walks of life. It's basically coloring your eyebrows in a semi-permanent way. And I don't know if there's other microblading that they do, but I think at least in this instance, as I read through the staff report, it appears that the traditional tattooing would be an ancillary, just an add-on to what their primary business already is. I personally don't have a problem with the tattoo services and think we ought to just make it a permitted use.
Okay, thank you for your input. Does anyone else have any comments in addition to Councilman Swanson's?
If I could make one clarification just to make sure that it's straightforward to the mayor and the council. The ordinance, the way it's written, references I believe it references the C1 and C2 zone. The way our code is written, anything that's added to those zones would be allowed in the CP1 and CP2 zone as well, even though it's not listed in the ordinance. And I just wanted to make you aware of that so that there wasn't room for concern that something was being slid under the rug, so to speak, or under the radar. We're basically talking about the commercial zones though, so they're mostly all along Main Street, Washington Boulevard. So it shouldn't be too big of a concern, but I did want to be clear about that.
Yes, I saw that in your write-up, Brandon. Thank you. Are there any
Mayor?
other questions? Yes, I can't see. For some reason, I can't see. So is that You, Councilwoman Stoker?
It is.
Okay, there you go.
Um,
Thank you.
In tacking on to Councilman Swanson's comments, that I know when with this microblading and permanent makeup, that is a whole separate license that they have to obtain and training, because it's basically they're an anesthetist. And so it's not just something that anybody can go and do. There's extensive training in that because of the sensitive areas of where they're microblading. It's actually using a needle, putting in the color. So.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have any other comments?
Mayor?
Councilman Barker, yes.
To answer some of Brandon's questions, in my opinion, I'm not opposed to a tattoo parlor. I think I'm in agreement that we should maybe limit how close they are to each other and check cashing establishments. I like that. Right now, we don't have any in our city, but that doesn't mean they're not going to come back. And then I don't think we should limit their hours, because this particular studio is going to be right next to Snap Fitness, which is open 24/7. So how can you say people can go work out in the gym, but they can't go to a tattoo parlor? That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not opposed to this, but I think we should limit how close they are to each other.
Maybe you just hit a new idea, Councilman Barker. You can get a tattoo while you're working out.
There you go.
New business opportunity.
I shouldn't have said that in a recorded meeting, and now someone's going to steal my idea.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, Councilman Barker. Any other comments from the council?
Mayor, I guess I'll just weigh in. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I agree with Councilman Barker that maybe just as a general rule, not have businesses of the same type too close to one another, but I don't, especially the one that's actually applying for the license, the microblading and permanent makeup essentially is tattooing already. It's not the same type of tattooing, and it does, just as Council Member Stoker pointed out, it requires a special different kind of license in order to do, but it's injecting ink with a needle under the surface. So I personally don't ever want to get a tattoo, but I know lots and lots. I probably know more people with tattoos than without. So I don't see why we would prohibit that in our community. I also would hope that we would attract a certain quality of tattooing. There are some definitely bad tattoo artists, and it is an art, that to do that is actually quite skilled. It requires a lot of skill. So hopefully that's what we're going to attract to our community, just with the what's the word, demographic that we have here. So that's kind of, where I stand on it.
Let me just ask a question regarding the locations of businesses being close to each other. It would seem that could be a little bit discriminatory, because we have McDonald's right across the street from Wendy's, and we have Beans and Brew within a stone's throw of Starbucks. So I'm just wondering if we're not kind of moving towards some type of discriminatory situation if we start getting too detailed in these ordinances and having a little bit of overreach. Just a thought. I don't know if anybody has any feedback on that.
Mayor.
I sort of agree with you there. I mean, that's a lot of businesses will do that. In fact, we've studied fast food locations, and where do they go? They go where a McDonald's is. That's generally kind of what happens. It's like, so I agree with you there. Let them go where they can survive. And they should know their own business well enough to do that.
Okay. Councilman Swanson, I believe you had a comment.
I believe currently in our ordinances, the only business that we have limited the number of or the proximity to each other is a sexually oriented business. And no other business do we put restrictions on how close they can be to one another. I just cannot fathom a rush of tattoo parlors wanting to come into North Ogden in the traditional, seedy tattoo parlor of yesteryear. I just don't see that happening. I know that there are a number of microblading and that type of tattooing in other cities that are very close to each other. It's kind of like, dentists, they're right across the street on Washington from each other, and banks are right next to each other. And I'm with you, Mayor. I don't think we need to limit how close they're going to be, mainly because I don't see that there's going to be a ton of them that come in.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Discussion? Council, would you like to hear from the applicant, or do you feel comfortable enough to make a decision? What's your pleasure?
I'm comfortable.
I'd like to hear from the applicant. I don't think it would hurt.
Okay.
Give them a chance to speak.
All right. Does anybody object to that significantly? If not, John, can you allow the applicant to make comments if they'd like?
Yeah, she had raised her hand, and so she just needs to unmute herself.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kimsha Byrne, 4743 South, 575 West in Riverdale, Ogden, 84405. I'm here with my husband, Joe. We're partners and business owners. And
Hello.
I want to say thank you very much for your time this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on our request.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, well, thank you for joining us this evening and for your willingness to look at North Ogden to locate your business. Thank you very much.
We actually sought North Ogden out specifically because of what type of tattooing we focus on. And if you have a moment, we'd like to talk about that just for a second.
Yeah, I read that. It's a kind of a healing process you do.
Yeah,
You're welcome to take a couple minutes. We do limit our comments, but to time. But yeah, take a few minutes if you'd like.
Sure, it won't even take that long, I don't think. But just so everyone knows, and I'm sure everybody already does, that tattooing sure has changed a lot over the past decade. But if we look at tattoo history, thousands of years ago, tattoo all across the world was used for things like healing, or in an intent to define yourself within a role of a family or a tribe, all of which helped the person involved getting the tattoo to be able to focus on their purpose or their health and enable them to reach a goal. Only in the early 1900s did this change, when America actually started to do American traditional tattooing, and we had a lot of criminal activity around the industry and of course the military. But here in the past decade, because of TV, it has become extremely socially acceptable, and now we have people from every walk of life that come to us with these amazing stories that they want to represent. Maybe it's something as simple and as heart-wrenching as that they had a child die, and they need to be able to get past that. And so they memorialize that person through art on their body. Or maybe it has something to do with their goals in life, and they've struggled with things like drugs or alcohol, and they want to be able to move past that and become something great. And these things remind them of who they are and what they can do. And we believe that tattoo needs to get back to the spiritual nature that it once was. And that is our goal. So much so that we're even involved in creating a worldwide school to teach people how to tattoo in this way, so that we can change the entire industry. So we feel very honored to be here tonight and to be able to talk to you guys and have you hear our side of the story. And we really hope that you can see in your heart that this is something that needs to happen.
Thank you very much. I have one question for you. Do you do massages in your business? And what percentage of your business would be so if you do?
We would essentially only have one massage therapist. Currently, we have not hired one. So we would have only one, only so that there wouldn't be any competition. You know, we would just want to specialize and have one person, one individual per trade. Same with microblading and permanent makeup.
And also tattoo, because
and-
it's mostly focused on the healing aspects, what people need to better themselves or to feel better about themselves. So
yeah, we would only have one person specializing in each specialty or service.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Is your business subject to sales tax? Just curious.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Council, while we have them on with us, any other questions? And thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to ask a question. This is Councilman Severing.
Yes, Councilman Severing.
Kimsha,
Yes,
and then what was your husband's name?
Joe.
Joe.
Yes. Hello.
So how are you today?
Doing good.
Good. When I read this, when I read your request on this legislative amendment, I was really impressed that you're trying to approach this in somewhat of a holistic way. So I hope this question makes sense. You're trying to really be much more of an upscale tattoo location versus just tattoos across the board,
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't have any problem voting for this amendment change, but being an old North Ogdenite myself, you know, we do have kind of a we do have, I liked what Councilman Swanson said. I can't see us having a lot of competition with another tattoo parlor, but while I'm not a tattoo person myself, I don't want to limit somebody else from being able to get a tattoo. But if we're going to have a tattoo studio in the city, I really like that your approach is a lot more holistic and a lot more upper scale kinds of tattoos.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
We are very much prideful in that and hope that we can at least set a standard, a level of professionalism, and uphold that for the city of North Ogden in representing tattoo as a form of healing.
Well, and I think that, again, I'm not a tattoo kind of a guy, but I know a lot of people that have them, including close family members. And I have an aunt that has one, and hers is dedicated to a child. And again, while I would not get one, I think that those kinds of things can be kind of healing for people. So thank you for thinking of the area, and thank you for helping us maintain a proper location in the area where it can be a little bit more upscale and meaningful.
Thank you.
Hey, Councilman Severing, if we chipped in or we got you a discount, would that entice you to get a tattoo?
You know, I've actually thought about getting one. I actually thought about getting one that was a tribal band, and it would have the word Ephraim on it, if that makes any sense to anybody.
Okay,
But,
well, we'll see if we can't chip in and help you out on that, Councilman. All right, any other discussion or questions before we move on to a motion for the amendment to this ordinance? Okay, seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve ordinance 2021-05, which would amend the North Ogden City Code to allow tattoo studios in commercial zones. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Severing.
I would move that we approve amendment 2021-005, permitting the use in the commercial zones, the commercial zone of a tattoo studio.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Do we have a second to Councilman Severing's motion?
Second.
A second by Councilman Swanson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on this. Let's start with Council Member Stoker,
Yes.
Council Member Ekstrom,
Yes.
Council Member Barker,
Yes.
Council Member Swanson,
Yes.
and Council Member Severing.
Yes.
Thank you. The vote's unanimous, and we welcome you to our city. And please let us know what we can do to help you be successful. All right, we'll move on now to item number 7, which is would be a public hearing. So I would need a motion to open a public, well, I would like to open the public hearing on surplus property located at approximately 3970 North Jackson Boulevard. And this would be in consideration for an easement agreement. Our presenter will be John Call. And the purpose of our public hearing is to receive comments on surplus property at the above mentioned address and have a discussion regarding the city's willingness to grant an easement. So with that, I'd open the public hearing. And John, would you
Yes.
let us know if we have any comments from the public?
Well, so let me start with a brief introduction, Mayor, if I can. Just
You are the presenter, John, so feel free to.
okay. So this council is related to a piece of ground that the city owns that provides access to a detention basin that we have where we collect stormwater. And so I was going to pull up a quick map of it so that it's easy for people to understand where exactly we are talking about. It is up in the area of the city that we call the Cove, or the Cove development. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but it is where you see this kind of transparent white or grayish line. That's the area of the property we're talking about. The city actually owns all of this property over, it's kind of a unique shape. Maybe looks like a goose picking up stuff off the ground. I don't know. Maybe that's just my amazing artwork. But
give yourself too much credit, John.
Yeah. But the area that we're actually talking about is just the area here inside this yellow box. And what has been proposed is the owner of the lot directly east is proposing to construct their home on the lot, and it will be much more, well, better shape than my little green box I've drawn. But they would like to use that yellow area for access to the garage of the home because of the narrowness of the front of the lot, along with the steepness. They'd like to get some access to that garage. The council, as you all remember, we did talk about this and went through a few questions and ideas. Because of that, the staff has put together an easement agreement that would allow for them to use this yellow portion of the lot. They would maintain it, including replacing the asphalt when it's time to be replaced. We are in the current version, so I did do a few tweaks based on some feedback from the applicant, which would include that the city, if it was damage caused by city work or city activity, that we would repair it. But otherwise, they would do all the repair and maintenance of the roadways in that area, as well as install some landscaping. And if they are installing landscaping on the city property, they would work with the public works director to figure out the appropriate landscaping and just make sure there wasn't something that was going to conflict with what the public works folks need to do. There again, remembering it was just focused on that one little leg of the property. It was not an access easement for the entire property. Let me pull up that agreement, because I think it would be helpful to show the council the changes that have been made since it was put in the packet. Not an attempt to, it was just an attempt to try and add some additional clarification for the parties involved. So let me pull this up for you. So this is the agreement that you saw. The installation of the landscaping was changed to, instead of say written approval, it was say after coordination and written approval from the public works director, which shall not be unreasonably withheld. That was intended to make sure that it was not seen as cumbersome or too cumbersome to the landowners or the adjacent landowner. Then we added this provision that the city would repair or any damage that they caused. And then the final one was that the public works director would be the one who would determine when maintenance is required. So we have several of these asphalt trails or access points in the city or in this development. And so we normally would contract them all to be done at the same time. At the time those were contracted, we would then talk with the landowner and indicate it's time for a slurry seal or, another type of an activity to maintain. And that's the purpose of this, is to just kind of make it clear that if we're doing work or if there's work that needs to be done, we can request it. And if the lot owner is doing some work on their own, that they can request it. One quick caveat that I'm not sure if the council's aware of, in this development, the main roads are public streets. So this Jackson Boulevard is a public street that comes down and snakes down the road. But these little ones are not public streets. And so the maintenance and repair falls on the HOA and the homeowners in the area, is my understanding. Just so the council's aware. So there's actually going to be a few different groups and a few different maintenance schedules for asphalt in this area. Any questions for me, council? One final thought I should add is at least one member of the council has indicated that, we never really talked about should there be any sort of a financial compensation for this. I have not had a chance to talk with the owner's representative about that. I did shoot him a quick email before the meeting warning him that it would be asked, but we haven't asked that yet. And I'm not sure if they're prepared to respond, but we just want to make sure that the council knows that has been asked. And I think it'd be helpful for staff to know if the council has an opinion on that and what direction you'd like to do. For most of the easements, or I would say for all the easements I've been involved in at the city, we typically have gotten some sort of financial compensation, or it has been in such a valuable contribution that the decision was made to not require it. But that's few and far between, I guess I should say. So any questions from me, council?
Well, thank you, John. I did get ahead of myself on the public hearing. So before we get there, council, let's hear from you on your input regarding this agreement and any concerns or suggestions you may have.
Mayor, comment from Councilman Severin.
Yes, Councilman Severin, go ahead.
So my curiosity on this, John, is I kind of got it first when I read through this material, and maybe I kind of scanned it too quickly, and I should have maybe spent a little bit more time on it than I did. But we're not talking about this being surplus property. We're just talking about granting them an easement. Is this a temporary easement, or is this, for balance of the applicant's life and extended to the kids and so forth? I mean, will you clarify that for me?
So it is a permanent easement in the sense that it is tied to the land. So it will be tied forever to lot 48 in the cove. It can be lost. And what I mean by that is in the agreement in this failure to maintain section, I think I'm not showing you the right one, so let me pull it up. It talks about that the city can enforce them to maintain the easement. And then further down, I believe it says that they can actually lose the easement. Or sorry, no, I went the other way and just said the city can force the easement. With easements, sometimes if you create an easement that requires or that creates a beneficial use of the property, it's irrevocable. And so I went the route with this one of making it clear that if they don't do it, we have the ability to enforce it. There is a provision that says that it can be forfeited, but the real focus is on forcing them to maintain it because it will be the primary access to the garage for this unit.
So this is like a detached garage then?
No, it will be attached. It's just the way the house is going to situate. And I'll see if I can find the picture. It will be the only way to access the garage. So I'll see if I can find the picture here in just a sec.
Well, while you're looking for that, John, I'm just curious. Obviously I've been part of the council when we have voted to sell surplus property. I can't remember in my mind a time when we sold an easement. So will you remind me of places where we've done that?
We just did that, Councilman Severing, with Visionary Homes when they wanted to run their sewer line to connect to the sewer on the development on the Browns property.
Okay.
That was the most recent one I think that I'm aware of.
Okay, so I guess in my mind, I had thought that with Visionary that we were actually selling them that ground, small as it was, but we really gave them just an easement for that money?
I believe that was the case. So it was an easement, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, it's a utility easement that they had to purchase. Yes.
I believe that was, we charged them $25,000. Not saying that applies here. Let me make that clear, but in answer to your question, Councilman Severing, that's, since I've been the mayor, that's the only one I'm aware of. Now, John, I would assume that since the city maintains ownership of this property, the lot owner would not be required to include that in property tax.
Correct.
As part of the assessed value of their property.
Correct, Mayor.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the council?
I had a quick question. Is this the only garage, or is this like these houses are large and have a lot of outbuildings, I think, with them as a general of what I've kind of seen outlined. So is there another garage that's in the front, or is this the only garage and they're going to really use that pretty much every day?
So we do have the applicant or the landowner's representative here. They could probably answer that question better.
Okay, maybe we should see if there's any other questions too, and then they can answer them all at once. Are there any other questions from the council? Clarifications? If not, before we open the public hearing, can we hear from the applicant, John, to see if they have any further comments or concerns?
Sure. So Lisa Christensen is here.
Hi, this is Lisa Christensen. I am the builder with Concepts and Construction. To answer Councilman Ekstrom's question, the house is designed almost in an L shape, somewhat of an angular shape. So the lot is quite narrow at the front. And to be able to access that, the garage has to go at the back of the house. There is not a secondary garage. It's a multiple car garage. But the steepness of the lot from the access road, from the actual cul-de-sac, the private cul-de-sac, to where the city has their manhole is so steep I'm fighting the grade to create a secondary driveway. So that driveway, that access will be used every day. Your question, if that answers your question.
Yes, that does. Thank you. And that makes sense.
Any other questions before we open a public hearing? John, you've got the map up there.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the map, and you can see the house is set back quite a ways, partly because of how narrow the front of the lot is. But there will be one driveway, one garage, well, multiple garages, but they're connected together.
Cool.
Any comments, amendments that you're suggesting to the agreement?
No, it seems reasonable that we would allow them to use it, you know, especially if they're going to maintain it. Then they can kind of keep an eye on things too. I think it's a good idea to let them have the easement.
So you're proposing that we gift the easement to them then, Councilwoman Ekstrom?
I would, yeah.
Okay, well, let's, are there any other questions? All right, well, let's open this for a public hearing, see if we have any comments from the public.
Okay. I don't see any hands raised at this point.
Okay, we'll wait just a moment. All right, seeing no comments, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Councilman Swanson. Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. If there's no further discussion or amendments to the agreement, this would be agreement A2-2021, which is an easement agreement for property located at approximately 3970 North Jackson Boulevard. So do we have a motion to accept the agreement as presented?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
So if we've, well, let's see, I'm just trying to, and I apologize, that was a utility easement that we granted Visionary. Are we being inconsistent with our easements if we give to one and don't maybe charge for another? What is everybody's thoughts?
Well, let's find that out. Let's go to Councilman Barker, see what he thinks.
I'm not exactly sure yet. I know with Visionary, it was a little bit different situation. If we didn't give them the easement, they weren't developing their subdivision, so they needed it. If we don't give them this easement, we'll have a double driveway. That's about what it'll come down to. So I don't think I don't know yet.
All right, well, while you're thinking about it, we'll go to Councilman Swanson.
I don't feel that we're being inconsistent. One is a utility easement, and this one just makes sense from just a general use standpoint. We still have full access to the detention basin. They're going to maintain it, which is really where the cost comes in. If there is a cost involved to the party that would be using the easement, that's it there. I don't think we need to pile another cost on top of it.
Okay. Councilmember Ekstrom?
I agree. I think this is just a practical use of it. There's no need for them to go to another expense when it's already there. I think it's a win-win. If they help the city, they're going to maintain it. It's something that we would have to maintain anyway. And I think we can just allow it.
All right. Council Member Stoker, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, I agree
All right.
with
looks
what's
like
been said.
Well, and I want to make sure that, I'm okay with this too. I just wanted to make sure that we had some consistency so that we don't get somebody in the future say, well, you gave one to Visionary or you gave one here, but then charged for another one. So I just want to make sure that if the council, if everybody feels okay about this, I just want to make sure that we are ready to take the heat if there's any heat in the future.
I think it's a legitimate question, Councilman Severing. No apology needed. So I think it's a legitimate question. Thank you. Councilman Barker, did you make up your mind after you heard 4 council members?
I've kind of been leaning that I don't think we should charge, but mainly because they're maintaining it. But I want to see what everyone else says. I still think they're different situations.
Okay. All right. Well, we've heard from the council. So that being the case, do we have a motion to approve agreement A2-2021 for the easement at 3970 North Jackson Boulevard? Do we have a motion?
And Mayor, in that motion, can we just indicate that we will be adding the legal description just before it's signed?
Yes, sir. We can do that. So do we have a motion that will add the legal agreement to the easement agreement at 3970 North Jackson Boulevard? Do we have a motion to that extent?
Mayor, I'll move that we approve agreement A2-2021, noting that we'll put in the legal description before signatures.
Okay, thank you. Councilman, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Ekstrom, thank you for your second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Councilman Severing?
Yes.
Councilmember Stoker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom?
Yes.
Agreement passes unanimously. So we appreciate that. We'll look forward to having a new home in our city. Let's move on to item number 8, which is a discussion or action to consider a resolution to honor and thank Don Waite for his dedicated service on the Planning Commission. And Don wanted to thank you very much for your service. You've served for quite a while. I think you've served, in fact, I was just going to look this up, the official amendment, and read that if I can find it here real quickly. But Don, you've recommended a number of things to the council. And let me just find that here and I will read that. Just bear with me here. I'm almost there. Just got to get to the bottom of my packet. Don, while looking for that, would you like to say anything? Well, I have found it here. So maybe while Don's unmuting himself, I can read this. This is a resolution that's been prepared. It'd be resolution. I'll make sure I've got that here. 02-2021. It would be the resolution number. Let me just read that. This is a resolution of the City Council of North Ogden City to honor and thank Don Waite for his dedicated service on the Planning Commission and to the City of North Ogden. Whereas Don Waite served on the North Ogden City Planning Commission from August 13th, 2013 to January 31st, 2021, And whereas in almost 7.5 years as a commissioner, he has attended approximately 165 regular meetings, numerous joint meetings with the city council, and countless committee meetings. And whereas he served as vice chairman of the Planning Commission from September 18th, 2013 to January 20th, 2016. And whereas he served as chairman of the Planning Commission from January 20th, 2016 to January 3rd, 2018. Whereas he served as a delegate from the Planning Commission to the General Plan Steering Committee for more than 7 years. And whereas he has reviewed and voted on or recommended to the City Council more than 70 commercial and residential projects, countless site plans, conditional use permits, rezones of property, annexations, and amendments to the City Code. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of North Ogden City that the city recognizes Don's service and formally shows appreciation for his dedication to the city, passed on and approved on this 26th day of January of 2021. That's quite some service to the community, Don, and we're very appreciative of that. Don, would you like to say anything before I ask for a motion to approve that resolution?
Well, I just wanted to state that it's, I didn't know anybody kept track of all of that stuff.
Only for you, Don.
I wasn't even sure exactly when I started on the Planning Commission. Anyway, it's been interesting. It's been educational. I know when I was asked about the possibility of, seeking another appointment, I thought, no, I've talked about term limits and the reason for it and stuff. I'd be a hypocrite to do otherwise. But, I've really appreciated North Ogden. I've raised my family here. It's been a great community, a great place. And I feel an obligation to see if I could do something to be part of that. I think, it's also just amazing to think that we as pretty much ordinary citizens can work with the city and have an impact on how we're governed. And I don't think there are many other places in the world where that can happen. So I'd like to thank everybody in North Ogden for putting up with me for this long. I'm not going to be going too far away, so you still might hear from me.
Well, we'd love to do that. And Don, is it true that you're asking for double credit for those meetings you had to meet with the city council?
No, it's just the ones that went till 11 o'clock at night. Most of those were out on Prominence Point.
Okay, well, then we won't grant you double credit for that then.
Okay.
All right. Well, Don, thanks so much for your service and the contribution you made to our city, and hopefully you'll stay involved with us. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any comments from the council before we seek a motion to approve the resolution?
I will say that Don Waite is a good man. My first introduction to city service was on the Planning Commission, and he took me, kind of took me and helped teach me. So thank you, Don, for all that you've done to help me and the city.
Sure, welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Severing.
I've always appreciated Don's straightforwardness and willingness to say what's on his mind and how he thinks, and then negotiate from there. And I much appreciated your service, Don.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, he did have some good comments, and I did appreciate his input too. So thank you, Don.
Thank you, Councilmember Stoker.
Yeah, he's been straightforward and pretty clear. I mean, that's how I try to emulate it. So I appreciate it coming from Don. So I appreciate his time and service.
Thank you, Councilman Barker.
Yes, thank you, Don. I haven't really worked with you very much, but anybody that can sit through that many meetings deserves an award. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time and consideration to recommend to the City Council and just to care about your community enough to serve. Thank you.
All right, Don, and we do hope you'll continue to correspond with us and help us as we continue to make North Ogden a great place to live. So with those comments, could I get a motion to adopt Resolution 02-2021 to honor Don Waite for his dedicated service on the Planning Commission? Do we have a motion?
Hey, Mayor,
Councilman Barker.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 02-2021 honoring Don Waite for his time on our Planning Commission.
Thank you, Councilman. And a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Stoker. This being a resolution, we'll do a roll call vote. Let's start with Councilman Swanson this evening. Let's start with Councilman.
Try that again, yes.
Swanson this evening. All right, thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Stoker,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom,
Yes.
and Councilmember Severing.
Yes.
It's unanimous, Don. They all like the work you did, so congratulations and thank you again.
You're sure welcome.
With that being the case, Don retiring from service on the Planning Commission, we had 2 terms that were expiring this year. The term of Don and also of Commissioner Nan Carroll. The city sought applications from members of the community and received some very good applications from some very good candidates. Those were narrowed down, and Councilman Barker and Chairman Eric Thomas interviewed the final 2 candidates, along with making recommendations of the finalists. And based upon that process, I would recommend tonight that we reappoint Commissioner Nan Carroll to serve another term on the Planning Commission. And additionally, I would recommend that we appoint Johnson Webb to serve on the Planning Commission. Johnson lives on 2600 North, just around 800 East. He's lived in the city for a good portion of his life. His profession was comprised of pharmaceutical sales and also involvement in human resources. In our interview with him, he's very passionate about serving on the Planning Commission. So, Council, I would make that recommendation that we reappoint Commissioner Nan Carroll and we appoint Johnson Webb as a new member of the Planning Commission. Are there any questions regarding that recommendation? Seeing none, then I would look for a motion to appoint Commissioner Nan Carroll and Johnson Webb to the Planning Commission. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, I think that we appoint Johnson Webb and reappoint Commissioner Nan Carroll to the positions on the Planning Commission.
Okay, we have a motion.
I
We
second
have a
that.
second. Was that you, Councilman Severing?
Yes.
Thank you for that second. I've been instructed to have a roll call vote. So Councilman Severing, let's start with you.
Yes.
Councilman Barker,
Yes.
Councilman Swanson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stoker,
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll be excited. And I know that I spoke with Lynn and her and Rob will be providing some training to Johnson Webb, and we look forward to having him serve. I don't know if Johnson's with us tonight or if he has any. Is he with us tonight, John?
I do not see him on the list of attendees.
All right. Just thought it might be interested to hear from him, but we'll have plenty chances to get to know Johnson as he goes forward. All right, so we'll move on now to item number 10 on our agenda, which is a Discussion and action to consider a resolution amending the consolidated fee schedule. We have with us tonight our finance director, Evan Nelson. So John, if you would let Evan make his presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to see you again. We just have a few proposed changes to our city fee schedule that we'd like to present to you. First of all is, looks like John's bringing it up. This is a brief description of each of those changes. First is a building reinspection fee. When somebody applies for a building permit, they pay a permit fee that covers the cost of inspections. In some cases, the builder or the applicant requires inspections beyond what would normally be required, mainly because they haven't been able to meet the standards of the code. And so in cases like that, we're proposing this reinspection fee. The amount of that is $56.40 per inspection. So we're proposing that be added to the schedule. The second one is a transportation utility fee to be eliminated. The city stopped charging this fee last year due to that pending lawsuit. And so we're just proposing that it be removed from the fee schedule. It had been overlooked during the last review. And then the last item on here is an update to the fire district impact fees. The fire district did a new study and has modified their fees. So we are updating our fee schedule to reflect those changes. Some of the impact fees at the fire district decreased and increased, and those are shown in the draft fee schedule. So those are the three. We can go into more detail on any of those if you have questions.
Thank you, Evan. Let me inquire of the council if they have any questions for Evan regarding those three amendments to the fee schedule.
I've got a question.
Councilman Barker, please.
On the building reinspection fee, is that set after a number of re-inspections? Because I know we go back as inspectors about once or twice. When does the reinspection fee kick in? I just think it should be clearly stated so that we're not changing every time.
I think that it was not specified, and I think it was left to the discretion of the building department. But John, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
So what the building department has experienced more than we used to have is people who routinely say they'll be ready for an inspection. Our guys show up and they're not ready. And so this is meant to cover that situation. It's not meant to be a reinspection if there's a mistake found. It's meant to be when it's turned into a unfruitful visit, let's put it that way. So it's meant to make sure that they are ready for us when they say they will, as opposed to just scheduling appointments and not living up to their commitment.
Okay, thank you.
Does that satisfy your question, Councilman?
Yep.
All right. Any further questions? If not, then I would be looking for a motion to approve Resolution 03-2021, which would amend the consolidated fee schedule as outlined by our finance director. We have a motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Stoker.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 03-2021 to amend the consolidated ski schedule as stated by our finance director, Evan.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second from Councilman Swanson. Is there any further discussion?
Hey, Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
I was just thinking maybe I should have brought this up at the first. I work for the fire district and we are changing our fees. They're actually going down. So I'm just putting that out there, but as impact fees, we get zero revenue to our salaries from impact fees. So just putting that out there.
Thank you. This being a resolution, I'll do a roll call. Councilman
Yes.
Barker? Okay, Councilmember Stoker?
Yes.
Councilmember Severing?
Yes.
Councilmember Ekstrom?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Resolution passes. We'll now move on to item number 11, which is a discussion on considering a brokerage for the sale of the retention basin on 2700 North. Councilmember Swanson has asked that we have this discussion. Would you like to proceed, Councilman?
Yeah, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. I don't think that the 90% torn and ratted sign that we have hanging there is doing a really effective job of marketing that property as broadly and as nicely as we'd like to. I know that hiring a broker will incur a 6%, I think it's 6% fee on an eventual sale. But I think we're more likely to get that property sold and recoup those funds for the projects that they were intended for if we use a brokerage. I'm proposing we do that.
Okay. John, just a question. Do we have any offers that we have an obligation to counter on at this time? Or I guess not an obligation, but a desire to counter on before we engage a broker?
I was going to recommend that, Mayor, that we do have at least 2 or 3 groups who've expressed some interest, and I think we would want to exclude them from the brokerage agreement, or at the very least indicate that if those are the ultimate purchasers, that there be a reduced fee for them since we found them on our own, so to speak.
I would turn to Councilmember Severing. Do you think that affects the desire to sell that if there's 2 or 3 exclusions already, Council Member Severing?
Are they letters of intent, or they must be letters of intent, right, John?
So one of them, we did have a letter of intent. One of the other ones, they were going to send one, but I indicated a few of the parameters that I didn't think the council would say yes to, and they didn't, and so we never got a letter of intent from them. The third one, I don't know, but we could work on that at the same time and just say, hey, if you're serious, this is what the city's doing, and we need you to commit or indicate what you're after. We could do that as a final push to those groups.
I think that's a good point, that we ought to go back to those who've expressed interest and indicate that we are in the process of appointing a broker. If they have interest, they need to speak up before we proceed.
And please don't forget, that's a negotiable fee, and it should be negotiated.
Right.
Okay.
Let me just straw poll the council members. Councilman Severing, are you in favor of employing a broker after we go back to the 3 individuals who have expressed interest?
Yes, I've actually thought that for quite a long time. So
Okay.
I think I'd be supportive of that.
Councilman Barker?
Yep, sounds good.
Councilmember Stoker?
Yes.
And Councilmember Ekstrom?
Yeah, I agree. From what I've seen of brokerages and real estate agents, they earn their commission. So I would.
You just made a fan out of Councilmember Severing.
There we go. It reminds me of an Andy Griffith show where Andy finally tells Amby, pay the man.
Right, pay the man. And I'm assuming Councilmember Swanson, since he brought the issue up, is in favor. So John, I think
I'm having some reservations. No, we're good.
Uh-huh. I see. I see. Well then, John, you have some marching orders. Let's make contact with the individuals who have shown interest and let them know that if we don't receive a valid offer, that we will proceed with listing that with the broker. I would suggest we probably give them 2 weeks to respond. If not, I think you've received authorization to engage a broker. Okay?
Well, and we will do this through an RFP process, because the fee would likely, even at a less than 6%, be above what we basically need to do it. So, but that's not going to be a long process either. So,
well, let's go back to those who have shown initial interest first, and then we'll proceed from there. All right. Thank you, Councilmember Swanson. Now go to item 12 on our agenda, which are any further public comments. John, if you would let us know, please.
We do have a comment from Susan Kilborn.
All right, let's hear from Susan Kilborn. Susan, if you would give us your name and your full address and try to keep your comments under 5 minutes, we would appreciate it.
Susan Kilborn, 3370 North, 400 East in North Ogden, Utah. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Too bad. And Mr. Mayor, thanks a bunch for telling me to keep my comments under 5 minutes. Anyway.
We're just trying to be equitable, Susan, just trying to be equitable.
Yeah, you're being kind, but I hear you. Anyway, I wanted to tell you all, this is my first opportunity to join in listening to a city council meeting under this venue. And I want to tell you all that I am just impressed as all get out by you guys. You are on point with knowing exactly what is going on and having appropriate compliments or comments. And here's the point I want to make. As I've told Phil before, I was on city council in Citrus Heights, California, population 900,000 plus for 8 years. Big difference between North Ogden and that, but I am concerned about the number of people out there who are missing these meetings. And I want to try and drum up business for people listening to the city council, because I'm tired of reading about people complaining about what decisions are made when I see no participation by them in giving input on those decisions. So I would respectfully request that I submit to you some ideas on how we can, for lack of better verbiage, drum up business. What say you?
Well, I think we're accepting your commitment to accept the assignment to increase participation in city council. And we appreciate you volunteering. So since you volunteered, we're giving you the assignment. So we'll be open and look for your suggestions. How's that?
Okay, and I promise I will be civil. Don't expect me to be that way online, because you all know, Ryan, I see you smiling down there. Then I'm going to say what's on my mind. But really, you guys, I commend you, and I love our city, and I want to participate in a way that I am able to. And I am a mouthpiece.
Well, we appreciate that. And I was thinking maybe some incentives would be like attendance at a Packers game at Lambeau or something.
Oh my Lord. You're going to pay for those tickets. And you know what? You better have better connections than I do, which I don't think you do.
Well, let me just put this in perspective. I've been to Lambeau and watched the Packers, and I've been to the tailgate party. So, you can sleep on that one, Susan.
No, I will put it in perspective and tell you I played golf in a tournament in Lake Tahoe, California that Aaron Rodgers played in. Top that one, my Mr. Mayor.
I was his caddy at that tournament. I just want to point that out.
Okay,
Thank you,
with that,
Susan. Thank you very much.
with that, one more comment. I would like to let Randy, or Ryan, is it Randy win? Yes. I would like to tell him that I am one of those undesirables who has a tattoo. I won't tell him where, but I have two that are dedicated to my parents who have both passed, and the other one is Green Bay all the way.
There you go.
I wish you a good night. Be safe out there. I just got back in not too long ago from shoveling, and it's kind of slippery.
All right. Well, you just reminded me I've got to get out there. So thank you for your comments very much.
All right. Good night,
appreciate it.
folks. And thank you for giving me time to speak.
Always. Thank you. Any other comments, John, this evening?
Not at this point.
I know we don't have any specific assignments listed tonight on the agenda for reporting from council members. We'll reinstitute that going forward. Our new city recorder will be joining us on Friday. I plan on going down and welcome her to the city, welcoming her to the city, and would invite you to do the same at your earliest convenience. So from the council, are there any pressing issues you'd like to bring to the attention of the council or citizens this evening? Now would be your time.
It's probably pretty impressing, Mayor. It's, if I may.
Oh, yes, Council Member Stoker, you may.
It's come to my attention that that a few people would like to publicly thank you for your service in helping out where needed as far as shoveling and people that are broke down, and that you do that at the expensive before you help yourself. And I said, I have no problem doing that and embarrassing him and watching him go red in the face.
Well, you did. So thank you. That's very kind that you would embarrass me.
And also to thank our public works. They're great on getting out and getting these roads salted where they are needed. So kudos to them.
Thank you, Council Member Stoker. It's the old saying, I don't get mad, I just get even.
Fair enough.
All right. Any other comments from the council tonight?
I do. Just a little update on Parks and Recreation. We just, I know it seems kind of a long ways away, but Cherry Days planning is kind of right around the corner. And so Tiffany asked if I could just kind of put a little bug in your ear about thinking pretty seriously about what activities we will do or not do, especially considering like the races. There's timings that have to be, they need to get somebody lined up pretty quickly. So we just want to be thinking about that. And then just Tiffany is due to have a baby here in a couple of weeks. So we just want to wish her a congratulations. She's going to have her fourth girl. And
I talked to her this morning and suggested maybe we have a contest in the city about naming it, the little girl, because she hasn't picked the name yet. John, of course, has already picked the name for his little girl, but Tiffany's still struggling. I'm glad you brought that up, Council Member Ekstrom. Some of you may have seen the comment from John Arrington that he's suggesting instead of using the 2600 north route, that we consider having the staging area down 2550, perhaps use the parking lot of the Aquatic Center, come up 2550 and turn south. So we still utilize the commercial area. Not looking for a decision tonight, but that comment recommendation for consideration was made.
I did speak to Tiffany about that, and she reminded me that this was actually a matter of discussion a number of years ago. And what the council had decided was to have it come down 2,600 just to make it a little more of a small town feel, so that it was a little narrower road and wasn't so big and so commercial. Also to help with crowd control, because Washington is so wide, it's really kind of difficult to keep people to the side. And that was just what was decided. She's like, we can revisit it, but that was
that's when we were a small city before we grew. But I would hope that we could have the parade. And if that's the case, I think we could spread out more, frankly, on Washington Boulevard to have the parade based upon the pandemic. That may be something to consider. I would hope that we could find a way to do the fireworks. I believe that we could stage a race with compliance with the health department. I hope that with the vaccination out that we'll have a little bit more leniency. I think the main one that's probably uncertain is the actual cherry days at the park, where we quite don't know yet how the vaccination is going to work, and it's probably very difficult to social distance there. But I know Tiffany is in our staff meeting this morning, she brought up the same thing. So council, we probably ought to be thinking about that and discuss that in our work session next week, if we have time, and get some feedback. Just sharing my thoughts with you. I don't think probably tonight would be appropriate to make the decision without having some time to think about it. But any thoughts from the council?
I think Cheryl would like us to have a lengthy discussion about the parade route tonight.
You're on one tonight, Councilman Swanson. I'm telling you, you don't want to get on her bad side again.
In the last 7 years, I've been there a time or two.
That's why I use the term again. Also, I did, you've probably seen this, and John had a discussion too. The intersection at Fruitland and 2100 is popping its head up again. And I know John is committed to the resident that we would have the chief look at doing a traffic study. I think things have changed in that area fairly substantial. I was down there today observing. There's a lot more cars on that road than I'm used to seeing coming through that intersection. So we'll report back to the council on that too, about concerns there. Anything else from the council this evening?
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Barker.
Since last time, I mentioned a couple bills that we need to be watching with the legislator, House Bill 98 in particular. A brief update, it's gone to the Rules Committee is what I've last heard, and the fire marshals have got involved, and now we're being told if we don't stop trying to negotiate, they're going to push for commercial buildings to be included in this bill, which would mean that developers can now build commercial buildings without inspections of any kind except from their own inspectors, and then they leave and the cities are stuck with these buildings. I've met with Ryan Wilcox already last week. I know Phil said Ryan told me Phil emailed him as well about it, and I think Blake's emailed him as well. It's just one that we really need to be voicing our opposition to. And then there's another one about accessory dwelling units that the state or the House is trying to push through. A lot of cities are already setting up their own bills, and it'd be good to oppose that one as well, since each city needs to regulate what they need for their own needs and not have a state mandate.
Yeah, they're trying to force that as part of their affordable housing situation, that they think that's one of the main solutions is these auxiliary buildings. And so they're trying to prohibit cities from making ordinances that are so difficult that people can't do that. And they're using the incentive, at least for those cities who are receiving money for economic development for GoEd. They're trying to use that as the carrot out there to do that. So also, I had a citizen inquire about House Bill 60 about doing away with the concealed weapons permit. And I said, well, I have a concealed weapons permit, but the class I took didn't necessarily make it safer for me to carry. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't want to scare you guys. I don't carry that often, so don't get nervous. So Councilman Severing, I just received an email from a neighbor of mine. He said, so what's up with the snow removal budget in North Ogden, which seems to always be the worst roads around? It seems to me ever since they wanted to build their maintenance shop up this way and they weren't allowed, they do us last. It happens to be my neighbor, so I guess he's talking about our street, but I know it's difficult to get around, and we do have the arterial roads that need to be done first, but if you could just answer that question for my neighbor, Blake, I'd appreciate it.
So the question basically is, how come we're not doing the same street as what the mayor lives on first? Is that the question, the gist of it?
Well, you'd be interested to know that the FedEx guy, just before we adjourn here, was complaining about, because it is steep and you can't get a run to come up the hill. He was complaining about it not being shoveled. He was complaining to my other neighbor. And my other neighbor says, well, you understand that the mayor lives next door and he's asked that our street be shoveled last because he doesn't want anybody to think he's getting preferential treatment. And the delivery driver believed that. So there you go.
Well,
Any
Mayor,
other comments from staff this evening?
Mayor, I just want to mention one thing really quick. And I will take that back to Dave Espinoza and find out about that. Okay, Mayor? But just really quick, one of my assignments on the city council is to work with the youth city council. And the current liaison between the council and the youth council, Elaine Fernie, had to make a change, she and her son. And so we are without an adult youth council advisor. So if there are any recommendations, ideas from anybody on the council, I would love to hear any recommendations or ideas of people you think that would do a good job with the youth in the city.
Okay, council, if you'd submit any recommendations to Council Member Severing, I'm sure he'd be appreciative. Otherwise, I guess he has another assignment.
Take it.
So please remember to get him some names, please. Just one other thing I have is in the work session scheduled next week, we will be discussing reinstatement of some of the budget items that were eliminated based upon the uncertainty of the economy. So be prepared to discuss that next week in our work session, and John will get some information out in advance to you, I'm sure. So.
And Mayor, I do have one announcement.
Yes, sir.
So I think you can see this. Our Justice Court Judge, Patrick Lambert, was recognized for a Lifetime Achievement Award by the state, the Board of Justice Court Judges. He has been with the city for going on 3 decades in one capacity or another, but most of the time as the judge, and has done a great service. This is not any sort of a retirement announcement or anything. We just wanted to make sure the council and the citizens knew how lucky we are to have him serve in our community.
Yes, he does a very good job, and I'm grateful that he participated in our discussion the other day on the public safety building. So, all right, are there any other comments from staff this evening?
Not at this time. We do have Dave and Dirk are here with us. In fact, maybe you could put Dave on the spot with the snowplow question if you wanted to, Mayor.
No, I think that's fine. I think I'll deal with that one. I just thought it was humorous. We were talking about snow removal. I'll shortly answer that question. I think our public works folks do a great job. They're not perfect, but they do a great job. So,
and I think it's helpful to, some of the council members have been here long enough that they remember when it used to take 8 or 9 hours to plow the city, and we're down to about 5. Depending on the storm. Bigger storms were a little slower, but it's about the same amount of trucks. We've just done some scheduling and equipment changes that have made us more efficient, and we've significantly improved our time.
Well, I think we've tried as much as we can to communicate that there's priorities on this, and those are arterial roads and safety considerations where we have steepness on the road. So we'll just continue to try to educate the city, and I'm appreciative. I know that Dave changed some of the routes in the part of the city below 2600 so that they saw their roads plowed a little bit earlier. So I appreciate that. But Chief and Dave, you're welcome to make any comments if you'd like this evening.
Mayor,
Yes. Is that you, Councilwoman
may I
Stoker?
say something before we adjourn?
Yes, please. Are you there?
I think it died.
You're back, Cheryl.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, I took a tour today of our outbuildings, and the one that's just behind the police station. It's the hornets absolutely beat that building. It's like, I was amazed, and you could probably kick through that wood pretty easy. It looks pretty rotten to me. So it was interesting to tour and to see what they put in there, how they make use of what they have to work with once again, and the bays that they have and what they put in there and what they share with other departments in our city. So I was glad for that opportunity to see what they really do still put up with, and appreciate all they do for us.
Yeah, I went on that tour and looked at where we store evidence in different areas, and it was pretty eye-opening. No doubt about it. I think that's part of the due diligence that we look at to make sure we're getting the right perspective as we approach this public safety building.
And
so, John, did you have another comment?
We have a comment from the chief. He raised his hand.
All right, Chief, let's hear from you.
Can you all hear me? I'm on my phone, so I want to make sure you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to bring up a couple of new scams that we've seen in the last couple of weeks to the council and to the public that's listening. I'll put something out on Facebook as well, but somebody's calling and saying that they're with the police department soliciting donations, and then they're trying to give an address where to send it. I just want everybody to know that that is a scam. We will not call you on the phone, ask for a donation, and have you send it somewhere via gift card or otherwise to another location. So be aware of that. The second is we just got a report yesterday that phone calls are coming in, somebody claiming to be with Ogden City Border Patrol, and that the citizen will be receiving a package of narcotics, and for more information, press 1. Again, another scam that I'll put some information together and make sure it gets posted, so hopefully some more people can see that. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, with that, I would ask for a motion from Council Member Stoker to adjourn this meeting.
Oh, absolutely. Motion to adjourn.
All right, do we have a second on Council Member Stoker's motion?
Second.
I'll second it too.
We have a motion and a second and a half. All in favor of adjourning our meeting?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good evening
Aye.
and be safe out there when you're shoveling your driveways. Thanks for your participation this night.
Good night, all.
Everybody.
Night.